Welcome to the 21 Convention Podcast. My name is Steve Mayeda, and I'm your host of today's episode. Today, we have Nick Sparks, an amazing guy. And in this podcast, we do an interview that gets really in depth. We talk about sex, sexuality, his speeches that he's given in the past, but also some really intimate details on how to get more social, how to be a better man, and both of our personal struggles that went into this equation. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's an easy click of the button. And if you're watching this on social media, let's pass it on. Let's get into this interview. All right, here we are with Nick Sparks at the 21 Convention. Man, you just said something which was pretty cool. You said this was the one of the highlights of your year.
Yes.
Man, tell me about it, because we've talked a lot, but I haven't heard that.
Just a collection of people. That's what I really love about it. The speakers, to the attendees, it's, the speakers, guys who I don't get to see, guys who I don't get to hang out with, who I have a lot in common.
Yeah, and prior to this, you had not met James Marshall, James McLean.
Sasha.
Oh, you hadn't met Sasha before? It's a big personality.
Yeah, all sorts of sock. I mean.
Yeah.
Incredible,
Man.
Inspirational.
Yeah. And then also, I know for myself, and you got to experience it a little bit more because I'm like going all over the place. But even the attendees, what was so like? What was your first thought on it? I have some thoughts on it, but what really stood out?
I've spoken at a few of these that are not the 21 Convention, and the crowd can be kind of guys who are just like really looking to up their numbers or this and that. But I mean, this convention, and especially this year, just attracts men who are awesome guys, really looking to do the right thing, and just looking to improve themselves in all areas of their lives, are pushing themselves in every which way. And I mean, that's always inspiring to me.
Man, this is what I would say, because there's always been a difference about the 21 Convention, and especially in what, like the message that is produced. But in this year, you really saw the manifestation of speakers and attendees going all in the same direction. It was just really cool, So everybody had the right mentality, whether it had to do with diet, bettering their lives. I mean, you just heard a different voicing of living a better life and, the meaning of social. I mean, God, dude, the speeches. What was your favorite speech, man?
Socrates.
Yeah.
I think he won best speech of the convention.
Kind of impossible to it was awesome. But, what I thought was so interesting was every speaker, especially guys that we see a lot, in the seduction industry. And although you hadn't met Sasha or James, very familiar with them, everybody had a feeling of, I just want to give. Like everybody gave, including your speech. We were talking about it, just the pacing of it and the feeling of hey man, we love being social. We love connecting with people. We do this because it's our passion, but we believe in humanity, and let's just open it up. And it was just so cool to see the different voicings of, Sasha being Sasha, James Marshall being James McLean, yourself, It was just a very, very cool thing. What are the transitions for you in this, like that brought you to that kind of level of giving? And because for the past couple of years, I really feel that you've opened up in a way that's, I don't know, a very mellow, calm, seductive expression of yourself. Like what transitions happened?
Oh, I mean, just growing up. It's practicing what I preach instead of, because any guy who's working in this industry will tell you get into it because you're trying to figure stuff out for yourself. You're trying to improve yourself along these lines as well. And every single guy I work with, I learn something new. And if I'm going to be an example to people, I've got to internalize it. I've got to be able to bring it myself. And then with this event especially, I always feel like I've got to bring my best. Everybody else is. Man. Anthony always is. And so just to kind of deserve to be on that stage with everybody else, I've got to make sure that I'm resting as much as I can before my speech. I'm giving as much as I can to the guys who are all bringing everything that they've got themselves. Like I got to step it up.
And that is something, because speaking at the 21, this is something that you guys may not know, is that it is so different because it's a different caliber. In other speaking events, for anything, it's like there's some riffraff, and you're like, okay, it's kind of easy to get in the top 10%.
Roll out of bed hungover and just go over there, don't shower, hey guys. But it's a 21 convention.
Yeah, like to speak on a stage with yourself, like to be around that, or any of the other speakers.
Some of the top guys in health, some of the top guys in the world in fitness.
Like doctors,
and,
you know?
MDs, and I'm supposed to be
like
up there with them.
That's the crazy thing about like the guys in the seduction industry is we tend to be people that just, kind of go about life in this way. And
I was a philosophy major.
Yeah, hey, at least you went to school, I mean, like a lot of us didn't. But we're actually on stage with these like academics. After this, we got... We have guys with actually I just interviewed a guy with a PhD, and we have another guy with a PhD, and it's just such an interesting thing. And I think that's something that the 21 Convention, Anthony, everybody involved in it has put out there that, living your life and living your expression, living what you're truly passionate about, you can get to this expert level of, spreading a good word. I mean, has this happened for you? We enter into the seduction industry and you can kind of go whatever way you want. But had I not been involved with the speakers and the people that I met, I wouldn't have transitioned into more of the thought and the mindset and the, even feelings. I'm passionate about seduction, Mm-hmm. What's happened between the 2009 convention and now, man?
Well, I've always kind of followed my own path when it comes to this sort of thing. I've always been a figure things out on my own, walk, whatever.
Yeah.
I ignore everything that else is out there and then really kind of think, oh, what do I believe is best, even if all the other voices in the industry are saying something different, which at the time,
and that is you too.
They really were. And so, I feel that I was maybe leaning towards a message or a direction before it was more popular, before it was more accepted.
Yeah.
And it was a
Big
gamble.
Time. Yeah, big time
for
with
sure.
yourself.
But then it's humbling when Anthony starts kind of cutting out other people from the convention. There's a lot of people that spoke that back then that they butted heads when they weren't invited back, and now it's just,
isn't that crazy?
It's really just reaffirming. It's really, like I said, humbling that.
And then also with you, because you're like super humble. You're like totally down to earth, right?
Just a dude.
Yeah, no.
I've got my own stuff to work on like everybody else.
Yeah. And so for yourself, just kind of going along on this path, and then all of a sudden your speech explodes, man. And the way that you handled it is even cooler because a lot of people, they get a speech that takes off and it's like me. Finally I'm validated. But for you, it's just like, oh no, man, that's not what it's about. That speech was released, what, a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
Like, what was your reaction to all that? Like when people started emailing you, or you were just like, whoa, this thing is going crazy?
I was as shocked as anyone.
Yeah.
Because, my speeches would tend to get as many views
roughly
as the other guys in the convention. And then that one just went off, completely unexpected, very, very surprising. And I wasn't going to walk in here this year with a big old fur coat and like sunglasses like Mr. Big Shot or anything.
That was even an option in there. Like, geez,
no,
man,
but
you should have.
For me, it was validating in a way, in that the stuff that I'm talking about, the way that I'm going about this stuff is what people want.
Yes.
They don't want the top 10 like best pickup lines. People are looking for something else. So if anything, it was just like a reaffirmation that I was going in the right direction, but definitely at the same time, not like, oh, I've arrived now. But that I've got a lot more work to do. But at least I know that I'm doing it somewhat right.
I think it did a service to everybody, and even in the 21 convention, with its just video feed, has done that for everybody because marketing tells you have to be this way, and then you come along and it's like, there's other people with other speeches that are much more, markety. And then this totally organic, like, you do all the things that are quote unquote wrong, right? And it's so down to earth. You're just like, hey, let me get centered. That's how you started off the speech, and feeling a little bit nervous, and you just went into this dialogue about some very simple conversation, and you kind of did a part 2 to it this year.
Yeah.
With the whole how to be sexual element.
It's a continuation. Like
Yeah.
the two speeches, like you can't have one without the other really when
Right.
it comes to communicating, especially with women. And sexuality is just as much of a natural expression
Yeah.
as anything else, and it needed to be said. So
Yeah.
glad I got the opportunity.
It was really good, man. I mean, I was in the back of the room, and you could feel it, you know. And I think that was your point, was to get into what's within you. And
It's not about the words.
thinking.
It's
Yeah.
not about the thoughts.
Yeah.
It's only going to get in your way.
You know, you said something when we were talking about the speech. When I work with guys, one thing that I notice, and man, what I notice about myself, I mean, is when I fail at something, how I react shows a window to what I need to work on. Or if I get rejected, and they're two different things. I think like failure, kind of relationship with yourself. Rejected is, other people. And then if I'm around things that I don't like if I'm like, oh man, this person, fuck, great, But what's that say about me? But I think also with how we deal with success, and what did that teach you, or what kind of, it was validating in a way when you saw, shoot, man, doing my things my own way. Because at the time, like all these satellites of people that you probably weren't connected to, may have been doing the right thing in the seduction industry, the dating industry, but you're kind of like alone with it. And when you started to get that success, what did it show for you? Did it trigger any things that you needed to work on? Did it?
It's, like I said, just mainly because I've had conversations. I know plenty of marketers in this industry.
Yeah.
And, when I was...
Who doesn't?
And they were all telling me, yo, you need to do this. This is how you... And they were right to a certain extent. Like, if you wanted to make money, at this, especially
it's
at
kind of
the
like this is
what
approach.
sells. Like, yeah. And so this is what you need to be. And I said back then that I get that. I understand that this is where the money's at. This is what people are buying, and this is what, gets their emotional selling juices going or whatever. But I don't believe in it. As a coach, I know that if I taught that stuff and I just saw guys basically being in the same place they were, I wasn't doing my job. And so I said, I respect what you're saying and what you're doing, but I can't do it. I have to do something else. And maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm going to do it, and a couple years later, I'm going to just, be homeless or whatever, have to get out of the industry. But it's really nice to know that there are guys that do want something else. There are guys that are tired of that message.
Yeah.
And so it's I won't say that that's the thing that kept me sticking around, but it was such a strong message that there are other people out there that don't just want the rest of the stuff, that are looking for something different.
Man, cool. Hey, let's take a break for a short minute, and we'll be right back with Nick Sparks.